Well, hi. I'm up in the mountains, you know, because when you're up in the mountains, you sit inside the house working on paperwork and doing a bunch of other stuff instead of being outside where you can enjoy life and the sunshine. But you know what? The heck with this. I want to visit and tell you about a couple of things. So let's go outside. I think it'll be a whole lot better out there. In fact, it's beautiful out there. Let's go see what the temperature is and we'll visit. All right, this is much better. It's nice out here. It is, according to the thermometer over there, 73 comfortable degrees. Sitting in the sunshine may be a little much for me. Before we're done, I may have to transition out of the sun and into the shade. For those of you that never lived up in the high mountains, and I say high mountains, we're only at about maybe 7,000 feet here, not quite, probably. In Ruidoso, New Mexico, up here for the Cowboy Symposium that my wife has a show at, and is off making a whole bunch of money for me, I hope. I won't see any of it. But how to start this one off? I don't know. Let me think about this just for a second here. Okay, so some weeks ago, Steve Smith, and if y'all don't know who Steve Smith at Integrative Preparedness is, you should. I think I've mentioned him before. Steve is an author and former cop and does some other really cool stuff now. But one of the things he does is he makes some really good videos on preparedness and his insights on things that are coming and things that are happening and how to think about it and what to do about it and et cetera, et cetera. Steve is a good guy, as nearly as I can tell. I haven't met him in person yet, but I've talked with him on the phone a few times and corresponded with him some, and he's up there. Steve's a good guy to know. But he did a video, which I don't even remember which one it was now, but I mentioned in the comments of a book that I had that I started that kind of a long time ago when I first started thinking about preparedness type stuff. Just a little notebook I started keeping. You know, my books are a huge part of my life. They always have been. And that's actually kind of how I got to know Steve, was because of his books. But one of the first books I ever started with, and I've loaned one of my copies out. I've got 2 copies of it. It's called Life After Doomsday, and it's good grief. It's not like a, what would you call it? It's not like an adventure read or anything like that. It's a fact book, a book of facts and things like this, written by a guy named Bruce Clayton, who got some letters after his name. This book was copyrighted in 1980, and that can't even be right because I feel like I had it before that. I didn't have it before that, but it just feels like it. I think I got my first copy of this 1982, we'll call it. So, boy, not long after it came out. But this book is all about, this book's all about nuclear war and living through it and how to prepare for it and that kind of thing, and making the whole case that nuclear war is actually very survivable. But from this, I went further on into authors like Ragnar Benson, who that's not his real name, but he wrote a lot of good books on preparedness and survival and dealing with stuff and that kind of thing and getting ready. But at some point, I'm checking my phone because here in a minute, I have to answer her and say yes right quick, even though I don't really know what she asked because she had a big typo in the middle, but you bet. They're about to get finished up and pack up. But one of the things that I did in the process of all that was I started a notebook. It's just one of those little folders, that you used to have in school. And I started making notes. One of my first notes was a page, or pages, whatever it was, that I wrote on. A little tablet right here I had, and I called it Go Get Items. And it was just things that I could think of. And this was before I started actually stockpiling food and that kind of thing. I think I've told a lot of you my kind of original thing when I first started doing a preparedness sort of thing was I was working for a carnival at the time. It wasn't the only job I had, but it was a carnival where you set up the rides and have the games and all that. And the guy that his dad owned it, he was a couple years older than me. We had talked about that kind of thing, and he came to me one day and he's like, I did something today. I was like, uh-oh, because knowing this guy and some of the stuff we got into, it could have been anything. He said, I bought a case of Spam. I was like, whoa, holy cow, that's a big step, man. He bought in a case of Spam, if you don't know it, is only like about maybe 8 or 12 cans, inside of a cardboard, wrapper package. And but from there, it seemed like a big deal at the time because we really hadn't done anything like that. And it was like, wow, we're taking it serious, I guess, now. But I made a list of things that I might want to get, and I've got just even on this thing from way back then, I've got beans and rice and peas and pasta and just that kind of stuff. And then as I went on, I added other things. I added vitamins. I added just miscellaneous first aid things. And then I realized I got a bunch of stuff on there. I need to kind of work it down. So I put stars by the ones that I really had to go get. The whole idea was if we knew something was coming, if we knew, if you had any kind of notice that you had time to get to a grocery store, you could go get something. You could go get some of those basic things that you might need. I like to feel like I'm way beyond this list right now, but I still keep it, and I still look back at it every now and then. And once in a while, I look back at it, and it inspires me. It gives me an idea for something else. But from this list and this little folder, I started doing other stuff. I've got some newspaper clippings here from some people up in Montana that buried a bunch of railroad cars, and I thought, well, that's interesting that they did that. And I've got, because I had an association with the LDS church up there, the Mormons, I got some different lists of stuff that they had for, 1 year supply of things and how to can them in different places and things like that. Then I got to where I went to, started finding some websites at the time. Somewhere along in there, the World Wide Web, the internet became a thing. And I found some preparedness sites there that talk about other things. Like this page right here, it's all about oxygen absorbers, desiccants and diatomaceous earth and how to use that to package food. And just on and things like that went. I've got a chart here for if I ever thought it was going to be a radiation type event like a nuclear war. I don't think so, but good to think about. Hang on, let this guy get by. There we go. And on this one, I've got different materials and the thickness required to provide adequate, shielding from radiation and how that works. Just stuff like that. Stuff I look back now and, seems kind of dumb. I don't know. In fact, here's one right here that's not dumb. It's operation and maintenance of your water collection system, and it's got charts on there for how much bleach to put into one. On a video I just did, I got a little water out of my tank, and mentioned there that probably wouldn't hurt to put a little bleach in there to maybe kill out some germs. Probably don't have to, but it couldn't hurt. And so just all that kind of stuff. And so kind of the point of this is that if you're not making notes, if you really are serious about all this, somewhere you should at least have some books. I'll talk about a couple of these books here in just a second, but have a folder that you put together, something that you start kind of hanging on to some of the knowledge that you come across as you do it. Um, a lot of the stuff in here I absolutely wouldn't remember it if I hadn't saved it and put it in here. Every once in a while I'll look through here just for fun to like, okay, what all kinds of stupid things was I thinking back then? And some of the stuff I look back, I'm going, yeah, I'm a little out there. You know, there's some Y2K stuff in here. We know where that went, pretty much nowhere. But still, I can look back and see that I had an awareness of it and was willing to take steps to mitigate any bad things that would happen. Mitigate, that's a good word. $5 for that one. Something else I've got here too. You know, I mentioned kind of an association I had with the Mormon Church up there. I was never a member of the Mormon Church, but in certain areas, anytime you go somewhere, there's more of one particular type of group think than another. And up there were a lot of Mormons, a lot of in the LDS. And so, at one point, I came across. I don't even know when. It wasn't way back then. This is more recent times, like in the maybe call around 2008 or 9, something like that. I became aware of a group called, or website called LDS Avow. And one of the things they have on there, it's called the Lds Preparedness Manual. Handbook too. They've got a different handbook that's written strictly for the Mormon people, the people of that faith, you know, kind of more in line for their way of thinking and that sort of thing. But they've got this book that's available for just anybody who wants to order it. And I ordered it back then. I don't know, it may have been 20 bucks, 25 bucks, whatever. You know, you can see kind of how thick it is. There's a lot of information in this thing. There's some great stuff in here. Charts and lists and things and just lots of good stuff. Well, the other day I couldn't find my copy. I had loaned it out to somebody. It turned out to be my buddy Reese, but I didn't know it at the time. And so I got online to see if they were still there. Lo and behold, they were. I thought, I'm going to order another copy. Guess what? It's still the same money. 10 or 12 years later, for the book that I ordered, it may not be that long, but it's been at least 10 years, I bet you. They still got the books available, but now it's not just this thick, it's this thick. It's like twice the size for the same price. What a bargain. There used to be a comedy routine. Eddie Murphy, maybe, I don't remember who it was. What a bargain. And so I ordered a couple of these guys, and I mean, it's terrific. In fact, back then, I ordered several of these and gave them out to family and friends as Christmas presents. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe I need to order a few more. I got 2 of them, so I've got one I can loan and one I don't have to loan. I told the guy, Chris is the guy that manages the website and maybe his whole deal. But Chris, in the event you happen to see this video, these books are great. These books are great, and I'm glad that you made them available. And I am happy that they are still at cost, at the cost that they are. Pretty much, with a book like this, you're only paying for the shipping on it, because it's a fairly heavy pile of paper here. So it's a good thing. You know, something else I noticed here when I was doing it, I used to do some presentations there was a group in this part of the world that used to meet together to all share their preparedness thoughts and ideas and tips and tricks and survival and storage and just all that kind of thing. And I used to do a presentation occasionally on basically a backup source of power. You know, as simple as having a light and then having a way to, and we're all going to get a good laugh out of this, because here all these years later, being the electrician that I am, backup sources of power are still my Achilles heel. That is my weak spot. If things ever went bad today, I would not be able to keep my refrigerators running very well. You know, my goal is to have a refrigerator and a freezer going, but I just threw that in for comedic purposes. Anyway, the whole point of this that Steve told me to do a video on is keeping a notebook, keeping some notes of some sort. You know, it's an important thing to keep up with stuff like that. I hate putting pen to paper. I really do. In the 3rd grade, I got in trouble for something that I didn't do and had to write some ridiculous amount of sentences, like 1,000 sentences or something like that. And I don't know if that's what did it, but to this day, I don't even like writing a check. Well, of course I don't like writing a check, but just writing something that small, I don't like doing it. But it is important. Keep a journal, keep some notes. You know, a lot of times even All right, I don't know what that was about. My camera just decided to shut itself off, and now my wife is probably, nope, it's my dad. So that's good too. Anyway, to cut this down to size, the whole point of this thing is to keep some notes. Keep a journal, keep track of stuff you do, something you can go back and look at things you thought of before, little reminders, little hints, and even something as simple as a list of if you saw trouble coming, you can go to a store with a list of things you should grab, and you don't have to try and think it through on the way or once you're there, in case things are panicky, in case things are crazy. You know, not that they would be, but if they are, if you've got a list that you can look at, that makes it a whole lot easier. You and somebody else go to the store, you say, okay, I'm gonna go grab these things, you know, you go grab this stuff, and here we go. See you back, you know, on aisle 3 again in about 3 minutes. You know, anytime you can add a little bit of order to something to make it go better, it's a good thing. I think in the military they call it SOPs, or at least in some branches, SOPs, Standard Operating Procedures. A friend of mine that was in the Air Force mentioned something else they call them, but it's the same kind of thing. If you've got it written down ahead of time, know what's supposed to happen, then it's an easy thing to do. Takes all the guesswork out of it, makes it go smooth. So anyway, Steve, thanks for you know, making me do this video, and hopefully that'll help somebody. That's what this is all about. So y'all have a good afternoon. I'm going to try to enjoy the rest of the day as much as I can. Probably I'm fixing to jump in my wife's car, go down to the racetrack, the horse racing track, Ruidoso Downs, and pick her up and all their stuff. And that'll be how my day goes. May even go home tonight. Who knows? But thanks, and I will catch y'all on the next one.